Once upon a time, there lived an old queen whose husband had been dead for many years. She had a beautiful daughter, a princess. When the princess grew up, she was promised in marriage to a prince who lived far away. When the time came for her to be married and leave for his distant kingdom, the old queen packed many expensive gifts for her daughter. Vessels and utensils of gold and silver jewelry, cups and other treasures fit for a royal dowry. She loved her daughter deeply. She also assigned a chambermaid to travel with the princess and deliver her safely into the princess' hand. Each of them received a horse for the journey. The princess's horse was named Falada, and he could speak. When the moment of departure came, the old queen went into her chamber, pricked her finger with a knife until it bled, and handed a cloth with 3 drops of her blood to her daughter, saying, "Take good care of these, for they will be of service to you on your way." With tears in their eyes, they said goodbye. The princess tucked the cloth into her bosom, mounted her horse, and began her journey. After riding for a while, the princess became terribly thirsty. She asked her chambermaid to fetch her some water from a nearby brook. "Dismount and take my cup and get me some water," she said kindly. But the maid replied rudely, "If you're thirsty, get off your horse yourself and lie down to drink. I won't be your servant." The princess, humble and patient, said nothing. She dismounted, bent over the brook, and drank. As she did, she whispered sadly, "Oh Lord, if my mother knew, her heart would break in two." Later, as the day grew hotter and she became thirsty again, they came to another stream. Once more, the princess asked for water, and once more, the maid refused. When the princess bent to drink again, the cloth with the 3 drops of blood slipped from her bosom and floated away. The chambermaid saw what happened and rejoiced, for now the princess had lost her mother's protection. The cruel maid ordered the princess to exchange clothes with her. "Take off your royal gown and give it to me now," she said. "Swear before heaven that you will tell no one of this, or you shall die." Helpless and afraid, the princess swore she would tell no one. Falada saw everything and remembered it well. The false bride, the chambermaid, mounted Falada, while the true princess was forced to ride the maid's old horse. At last, they reached the royal palace. There was great celebration upon their arrival. The prince hurried to meet them, lifted the false bride from her horse, and took her upstairs, believing she was his true bride. The real princess was left standing alone in the courtyard. The old king looked out of his window, saw the beautiful girl waiting below, and asked the false bride who she was. "Just a companion I picked up on the way," she lied. "Give her some work to do." The king sent her to help a boy named Conrad tend the geese. Fearing Falada might reveal her secret, the false bride begged the prince to have him killed. The true princess secretly bribed the man who would slay Falada, asking him to nail the horse's head beneath the dark gateway where she passed each morning. The man agreed. The next day, as the princess passed beneath the gate, she looked up and cried softly, "Alas, Falada," hanging there. And the horse's head replied, "Alas, young queen, passing by, if this your mother knew, her heart would break in two." Each day she went to the meadow with Conrad and the geese. When she sat down, she let her golden hair fall, shining like the sun. Conrad tried to pluck a few strands, but she spoke softly, "Blow, wind, blow. Take Conrad's hat and make him chase it until I have braided my hair again." At once, the wind blew away his hat, and he had to chase it. When he returned, her hair was already tied up. This happened again the next day. Conrad grew angry and went to the old king. "I will not tend geese with that girl any longer," he cried. The king asked why, and Conrad told him everything about the talking horse's head and the strange wind that always blew away his hat. The king told him to take the flock out again the next morning while he secretly watched, hidden behind the gateway. The king saw the princess speak to Falada's head. Then he followed her to the field and hid in a thicket, watching as she combed her golden hair and spoke the rhyme that made the wind blow. The king saw and heard everything. That evening, he called her aside and asked gently, "Why do you do these things?" She replied sorrowfully, "I am not allowed to tell you, for I have sworn under the open heaven." The old king led her to an iron stove and said, If you will not tell me, then speak your sorrows to the stove. Believing herself alone, she cried softly to the stove. Here I sit, abandoned by the whole world, though I am the daughter of a king. A wicked chambermaid forced me to give up my royal clothes and took my place with my bridegroom. Now I must tend geese all day. If my mother knew this, her heart would break in two. The old king was listening through the stovepipe and heard everything. He brought her out, dressed her in royal garments, and she looked breathtakingly beautiful. Then he summoned his son and revealed the truth. My son, the bride you thought was yours is but a false chambermaid. Here stands your true bride, the one who has been tending geese. The prince rejoiced, crying at last, my true bride. A grand feast was held for the whole court. The prince sat at the head of the table, the true princess at his right, and the false bride at his left. The chambermaid did not recognize the princess in her royal dress. After the feast, the old king told a riddle, describing the story as if it had happened to someone else. Tell me, he asked the false bride, what punishment does one deserve who deceives her master in this manner? Arrogantly, the false bride replied, she deserves no better fate than to be stripped naked, placed in a barrel studded with sharp nails, and dragged by 2 white horses until she is dead. The king stood and said, you are the one, and you have pronounced your own sentence. Her punishment was carried out, and soon after, the young king married his true bride. Together, they ruled their kingdom in peace and happiness ever after.